It looks like many countries that I've seen, there were a lot of projects that are now starting to look at how do we merge it all together into a complete solution for the country rather than individual projects. And I think that's the right strategy because that's the only way we get all the benefits of the investment. If we have a lot of small projects individually, it's a good start, but ultimately it's best to pull it all together in what I call an end-to-end solution that encompasses the whole spectrum. And I think that's what I see here and many other countries as well, is that the leadership has made the commitment to do an end-to-end solution to really get the maximum benefit out of the investment.
So cooperation is the key.
Collaboration and cooperation. I think it's clear that we can't do it all by ourselves, and so it's better to work with others of the same mind that have the same goals. And that's what I've certainly seen here. Anita, I think, does a great job of collaborating with people within the county, the region, but also within the country and within the EU at the larger extent as well. I served on active duty in the United States Navy, again, I worked in the Navy, but also at the Department of Defense. And so in the U.S. Department of Defense, we have the responsibility of taking care of about 10 million patients, which is very similar to the number in Sweden. And we have the same sort of system in that we pay for all of their care and we're responsible for their care. And so it's a great opportunity to use that scope and scale to make sure that we are taking the best possible care of the patients, but also to use the investments to get the maximal benefit. And so the things that I've seen that are important is, again, cooperation and collaboration is critical, and recognizing that there is a wide spectrum of places where we deliver care, from very concentrated places like Walter Reed National Military Medical Center to very remote places, Afghanistan, Iraq, Asia, those kind of places, where we have to have different ways of delivering the care and different technology to support these more remote locations as well as the large concentrated locations. It looks like in Sweden there's the same issue. There's a very large land area, and the population is sometimes very sparsely distributed. And so the idea that there's a spectrum of locations of care from the big cities to the smaller rural cities is a very similar situation as what we have in the military.
And the professionals who work in the healthcare system, what do they need to learn, or how do they need to think to benefit from the technology?
Yeah, I think, well, I always say that the technology is challenging, but the most important thing we need to do is make sure that we use the technology to integrate into the workflow, and we change our business process to maximize the yield from the technology. And sometimes we just focus on the technology and we don't think about the business process or the workflow. And so I will speak later this afternoon about how we're trying to train the doctors of tomorrow to think about how do you use technology to help take better care of patients. And that means looking at how does the technology fit into the business process of the clinical care, and also what are the opportunities that the technology gives us that paper didn't give us before. And so I think that's an important thing to think about as we train tomorrow's physicians. How do we put the idea that there's a role for technology to take better care of patients?